is welcome. Be free and tell somebody. Reach in, reach out, reach up. Come and see. It's the Lord's Church TLC, where everyone is welcome. Be free and tell somebody. Reach in, reach out, reach up. Come and see at TLC. You will be free. It's the Lord's Church. It's the Lord's Church. Come and see at TLC. You will be free. It's the Lord's Church. It's the Lord's Church. Come and see. It's the Lord's Church TLC, where everyone is welcome. Be free and tell somebody. Reach in, reach out, reach up. Come and see. It's the Lord's Church TLC, where everyone is welcome. Be free and tell somebody. Reach in, reach out, reach up. Come and see at TLC. You will be free. It's the Lord's Church. The Lord's Church. Come and see at TLC. You will be free. It's the Lord's Church. The Lord's Church.
Worship Center.
Hello, and welcome to the Waiting to Exhale show. How are you all?
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Hi, ladies. Welcome.
So glad to be here. Another Friday.
How was your Friday, ladies? We made it.
We made it.
We made it.
We first want to say thank you to each and every one of you that are joining us tonight. We know. We had technical difficulties, but we're here. So we want to say thank you. We were on the backside. And listen, it happens and we apologize, but we're here now. So I am Natarsa Patillo, and I'm going to go ahead and let the other ladies introduce themselves. Go ahead, Latoya.
I'm Latoya Yvette.
Hi, I'm Nicole. Please make sure you like and share this broadcast.
Yes.
Hi, and I'm Tanisha Baycoat Daniel.
All right. Thank you so much. So ladies, how was your week? Let me hear how your week went.
Whew, oh my gosh.
Well,
Are y'all surviving the pandemic?
I am. I'm enjoying being at home.
I
know
at home, but now that I can have to stay at home, now I want to get out. Right.
Yes, right. I myself am a homebody. I don't go anywhere much, but now I'm ready to go. I'm trying to abide by the laws of the land and be safe, but I'm ready to go. So again tonight, ladies, of course, we're going to be discussing mental health. My goodness, give me a short synopsis from last week. This is part 2 tonight. We're going to talk about PTSD, depression, and abuse. So I'll let you ladies chime in. Go ahead. Give me some thoughts from last week.
Man, where can we start? I mean, it was so much. I could see myself in some of the things that we discussed that you have to talk about it. You really have to talk. Don't just put things under the rug and just say, okay, I can get over it. You have to talk with somebody.
That's right.
And just chiming in that it's always important to reach out to someone and ask for resources if you don't know where to start to seek help. Hope really gave us some really good educational feedback on abuse, trauma, a lot that I did not know.
Absolutely. And so, Latoya, go ahead. You had some thoughts.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for me, last week, since I've dealt with a whole lot of trauma and in and out of therapy for a number of years. It's good to know that when Hope was talking about if we go down the Bible of the book that they use, that we'll all find ourselves in there somewhere.
Mhm.
So that's good to know that I sit on the panel with these ladies and all of us are mental.
Right.
Oh no, y'all don't know. Okay, I'm sorry.
She's speaking for herself.
I just slide that in there. I was just playing. Go ahead.
But that is true. She did say that I forget the letters now of the Bible. I know it's DS something, I believe. I'm thinking, y'all know I'm thinking of shoes, DSW, but that's not what it's called.
Look, I was gonna say something close to it, so I thought I just said the Bible that they use.
Well, I mean, a lot of us emotionally eat. So, I mean, you know you're full, but you constantly eating this because you most likely dealing with something, and that's how you tend to handle it, is eating, shopping.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you say that. I had a smoothie today, and my sisters, we all had the same thing, and they were just enjoying theirs. And the more I drank that smoothie, I got so full. And I was like, why is this smoothie it felt like it was bubbling up in my stomach, like I was about to explode. So what I got out of that is that you truly can have a different experience. We were all drinking the same type smoothie, but they were enjoying theirs and mine was horrible.
Yes.
So, I mean, emotional eating, all of these topics that we're talking about, like Latoya said, we can all relate in a different way. We all have a piece of it.
That's right.
So we have another guest that's going to come on here in just a little bit. But what about depression? Ladies, give me your thoughts about depression or any problems or how has it affected you, I'll say, or someone that you know.
I think depression caused detachment. Because without being properly diagnosed, you don't know what's going on with you. So you tend to detach yourself from people, society. I know when my dad suddenly passed, I all of a sudden gained this fear. I mean, fear of driving, fear of practically just going outside, because I felt like I was going to just drop dead suddenly, and so I think I pretty much was trying to detach myself, because my peers at work, I wouldn't talk, I just wanted to stay isolated, quiet to myself. So as far as depression, it it can hit you suddenly, and you have to quickly understand that that's what's going on and try to fight your way out of it.
That is so true. So true.
I can agree with that because I would like to piggyback off of that. You can be in that detachment thing. You can be in depression and not know that you're depressed.
Mm.
I mean, you're actively functioning and you look like you're okay, but you're dysfunctional.
Yes.
You're just doing just enough to look like you're okay.
Yes.
But you're deep depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Nicole, I'll say something that happened today. Nicole had posted something on her page, and she and I were like joking about it,
Yeah.
right? And people, so people are getting really creative to try to go ahead and, deal with this pandemic however they can. So like friends get together and they go out, into parking lots. And they'll sit and drink coffee because they feel like if they're 6 feet apart, or they sit I've seen mothers who, open their SUVs and they sit out there and drink coffee. And, I heard someone say that they pray together and things like that. Creative, whatever it takes to get out of the house. And once someone posted on Nicole's post and she said, and I was like, that is not me. I'm fine in the house. I'm ready to get out, and more than anything, I'm ready to travel.
Yes.
But someone posted on her post and she was like, I'm doing what I have to do because I need people.
Yes.
And we throw that around that everybody needs somebody sometime. But this pandemic is letting us know that you can be depressed and not know it. Extroverts thought they were introverts, and introverts now think they're extroverts. This whole situation is making us, and I know me myself, I am thinking about mental health. I want my family to get help. Listen,
Right.
If you need to see a therapist, I want you to go. Let me give you somebody's number. Because we've all dealt with so much.
Right.
So I just thought that was interesting that the young lady said that she literally goes out and meets her friends in a parking lot.
In a parking lot.
Around people.
Yeah, and see, also the children. Children are used to being out, and now they're just confined. So I just feel awful if the adults feel that way. Can you imagine how children are feeling? And after we come out of this, are they going to need help?
Yeah.
I want to say this. The amazing thing about counseling now and being innovative through this pandemic, you're able to get counseling in the privacy of your own home.
Yes.
They have these teleconferences where you
Absolutely.
can get the help that you need if you're embarrassed about I need help. You're
That's
able
right.
to do that in the privacy of your own home.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right.
That was good for me. That's what I did. I got, when I was going this therapy the first time, I had them come to me because I felt like if I went to them, then I was crazy for real. So, yeah, that's good. I'm serious. That's good.
And I will say, and I think I said this last week, that for my employer, it's called teletherapy.
Yeah.
And for, telecare, I guess it is for any type of care. Your doctors are calling you now. So don't sit at home because your doctor's office may be closed. They will make a virtual appointment with you during this time. So absolutely. Do not sit at home and not get the care you need. So we want to invite you and encourage you to share this live. Please share, like, and share, and make sure that you're sharing on your pages and your group chats, however, because we want everybody to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
We do have a guest tonight. He's not on the flyer, so we're really excited to bring in this young man. He is going to talk to us from a male's point of view. And you all know sometimes men do not open up and talk. So I'm really excited to introduce one of our special guests tonight. His name is Marlos Uzel. And Marlos is not ashamed to get on here and tell us that he has dealt with depression as well as PTSD. He retired from the Army. He's an Army veteran. He was in active duty Army Reserves from 1989 to 2001. Then during that time, combat veteran, Operation Desert Storm. Then once he came out, he was a certified service officer from 2013, and he currently still works in that role to where he's helping veterans and assisting them with getting their benefits, because a lot of times we know that veterans don't get the help they need, because they're just kind of out there on this wind by themselves. So we're going to welcome Marlos Uzel now, and he's going to talk to us about his perspective as a man for dealing with PTSD as well as depression. Hey, Marlos.
Hey, ladies, how are you? How's everybody? I appreciate you having me. Thank you. I appreciate you. This is a subject that's very. Can you hear me?
We're going to give the floor. Yeah, we're going to give the floor straight to you and just whatever you want to tell us about your experience. And then we may have some questions for you, but you go right ahead.
Yeah. Again, thank you for having me. And this is a subject that's very dear to me. So if I start talking too much, please stop me. I can tell you about my experience. I was actually a manager at a hotel in 2013. I've been out of the military for several years. And over a time frame of working, it got more difficult for me to actually get up in the morning, go to work, focus, treat the guests and my staff the way that they normally should be treated. At certain times, I would get to work 8 o'clock in the morning. At about 9 in the morning, I would just get frustrated, upset, bothered, and would just kind of actually go home for the day. So I didn't really know what was going on, and a fellow veteran said, "Hey, man, you might have PTSD and depression." And of course, me being a Black man, that's something we do not admit to, that we really need help and that we are willing to go talk to someone. So I went to the VA hospital, started that process for about 6 months. About within the third month, I got diagnosed with PTSD and major depression. Of course, I didn't want to admit that. They gave me different meds to try to help me. Kind of refused the meds and just thought, again, going back to, hey, I'm a strong Black man. I don't need meds. I don't need therapy. This is just a part of life. But it was explained to me, and it's something that I've come to realize, that things that I've seen in my past are not normal. And when they're not normal, it's going to affect you in some way. But, again, it is so difficult for brothers to talk to somebody. It is hard. If it wasn't for, his name is Ron Miller, he's the DAV service officer. If it wasn't for him, I would have never made it to the VA hospital. But I can tell you this, as far as being diagnosed with it and understanding it, if you are there could be so many positive things going on in your life, but you don't see them. All you see is the negative. You could wake up in the morning, money in your bank account, food on your table, but that's still not good enough. You can actually look at someone else's situation and be like, that situation is worse than mine, but you still don't see that there's something going on with you. And that was my case, just not being, I was financially stable. I was doing what I wanted to do, needed to do, but it just was, hard to get up and do anything. You just want to sleep all day. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do anything. And as a Black man, we have to go and seek help. Not just for me, because without their help, I want to be a better son, a better father, better brother, better husband. So I encourage any brothers that are having these symptoms to, seek help and see what they can do to get it. VA hospital, whatever you need to do, you really need to see help. Now, I can talk about this forever, but
you're fine.
I can kind of go into what I do now with DAV and what I've noticed when I talk to a lot of brothers about their symptoms.
Can you tell us how a veteran, how do they get to that process? You're saying, is it D as in David, AV, DAV?
Disabled American Veterans, right? It's an
Okay,
organization
so-
that helps veterans get their benefits. When I say
Okay,
benefits, it's not just monetary, just not money, but some veterans, you have to be in the military a certain amount of time to qualify to actually go to the VA hospital. However, if you are diagnosed with a service-related injury, you can get compensation not only for you, your family, and you can get all the medical needs that you need, and they are really free of cost. I don't pay, most of the time you don't pay for any meds, you don't pay for any appointments, and that no co-pays, and in itself, as you know, that is a blessing in itself to have free medical insurance.
Yes, it is.
I mean, free dental, you name it. So that is a blessing in itself. But, go ahead, Natasha, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's absolutely right. We don't know anything about that free that you're talking about.
Right.
Right.
Any other ladies? Were Nicole or Latoya, were one of you saying something?
First, Marlos, I would like to say thank you, sir, for your service.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Also, thank you for opening up and speaking, because just like you said, it's a stigma, especially for men and Black men. You got to be strong. You can't let nobody know what's going on, and you got to put on this front. Even if you're not tough, I got to make sure I'm tough. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, I thank you for that. And I wanted to say, like you said, I wanted to ask you. You said so you start having the, I guess what I want to say, the lack of energy. You said you didn't really want to get up and do anything. What are some other signs that you noticed around about that time, if you can remember at all?
Well, and actually I could say, well, I never, and I'm very fortunate because the majority of the veterans that I know, they started abusing, alcohol and drugs. For me, it wasn't, I did pick up a lot of weight. I did eat a lot. You might not can tell now, but that was the biggest thing. It was, a case of, failed relationship, which not only with just, with your family, with your coworkers. And again, I have been if I wasn't in the military, I was in hospitality all my life, and I love hospitality. But when it gets to a point when you don't want to deal with people, you don't want to deal with the guests, it's a very, very serious issue. And again, for me, what really made me seek help is that it wasn't, we have to learn that it's not just about you.
Yeah.
It's about my family.
Right.
So getting their help. I mean, I can't imagine where I would be now. And again, a thing about depression, again, I can't stress this enough. When so many things, the key to me, the understanding is there's so many things going right in your life, but you don't see them. I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about a multitude of blessings that you have,
Right.
in life, but you just can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the negative, and that made me realize that I have some issues, and I had to go seek therapy. And to this day, I still go to therapy. I still take my medications, and I still suffer. I mean, medications and therapy don't cure everything.
Absolutely. That's
Not
right.
at all, but it helps.
It helps.
And I can't imagine how I would be if I would even be here right now if I didn't seek help. And I'm just being honest. So, it's just different signs. And, I encourage any brother that has signs of PTSD or depression to really seek help. And I can say this about one of the stories, I'm helping veterans now that were in Vietnam. These guys are 65, 70 years old. And back then there was PTSD is a relatively new term. 30 years ago, 40 years during the Vietnam, it wasn't called PTSD. It was just called, you're crazy, so we're going to kick you out of the military. And this is what it is. So now we have to go back. What I do is I help veterans go back through their records, get statements from their families, from their doctors to show that this is not, and I don't like the term crazy, but, it is what it is. So I help those veterans go back, and we go through the files and we present our case just as we were going to court. And again, what that does is that helps that veterans get the benefits, compensation, assistance, and help that we need. So that's what I do, and I love it. And I just wish that I could help more veterans, and especially Black men,
Right.
realize that, you know, in order, if you to be strong, the strongest thing you can do is seek help.
Yes.
That's right.
That's the strongest thing you can do, because it's not, it's not for me to go in and tell somebody or any other veteran to tell somebody, hey, I'm feeling this way. That's a hard thing to do. We like you said, suck it in and just be tough. And being a strong man is admitting that you need help.
Right. That's right.
That's right. I agree there.
Marlo, speak to, if you don't mind, and you can give as much detail as you like, but speak to how we can help men when they are at their lowest, but that pride steps in. Like, you know, and that you use the term often, you know, it's called sick. So when you're feeling at your sickest, but it's a mental sick, how can we encourage men, especially because that's who we're specific to right now, because you're a man, but anybody who is, their mind is now sick, how can we encourage them to get the help that they need?
That's it depends on the individual male, to be honest. A lot of us, well, not a lot, majority of Black men, we are very sensitive to how we receive things from our family members, and especially women that we're dating or would. So just be, you know, you're able to paint a very thin line between being critical and assisting your man. And as being a Black man, I think it's for any family member or loved one, it's extremely difficult to get that person to realize that they have a issue, and it's extremely difficult to get them to seek service. Because I can tell you, over the years, I've recalled my mom saying, "Hey, son, there's something. What's going on with you?" And I would remember distinctly that I would not respond. I would just say, you know, "What are you talking about?" So it took years for me to understand that I had a problem. Years. And I just said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And for me, it got to a point when life is not of value, you have to seek when life is not of value, you got to seek help right away, because it gets very, very dangerous, and you can get sick to a point that your mind is telling you, oh, I'm so sick, and then your body starts shutting down, and your mind will start playing, in a sense, games and saying, hey, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And when you get that sick, you really need help. But I can just tell you personally, from signs that men are depressed, it's, you know, for me, it was sleeping. For other men, it is alcohol, it's drugs, being socially distant, angry, you know, very volatile, very upset. You know, I recall a couple of times at the hotel where guests would say, okay, something was wrong with my room. And, you know, I sent a town about, oh, I'm sorry about that. But it got to the point I would be like, you know, no, ain't nothing wrong with your room. You're just trying to get a refund, you know, and just get upset. And that's not normal. That's not normal behavior.
Okay.
That's right.
So for me, that's when it was key that I need to get help. But I just say that, you know, look for those signs, you know, again, sleeping, being distant, you know, just not doing normal things and not enjoying some of the key words that if your man's saying, I'm sick, I don't feel good, I don't feel appreciated, different things of that nature. Just look for key words and look for, you know, how he's acting on a daily basis. Because it doesn't, you know, you don't flip a switch and it's just depression. To me, and Peter, it's a gradual thing.
Yes,
so it's not going to be overnight. You're going to see those things and you've got to react, because believe it or not, I know in the Black community, suicide is not talked about. That's son. We don't have it, but it does happen.
But
and I can admit, I've been to that point.
That's right.
I've been to that point several times. Even when you have so much to live for, you have so many people that love you, when you get to the point that you want to be here, you have to seek help immediately.
Yes.
And you know, so That's just my point. Just take your time. Just watch for those signs because they are very, very important.
Yes. I know,
Well,
Marlo, for me, when my ex-husband came back from Saudi Arabia, we noticed a difference with him. But he used to tell me it was me raising his blood pressure. And at that time, I didn't understand it. And I was insulted. And I was like, but now that I'm older and the more I talk to other people that experience it, he had a problem, but he didn't realize it.
Absolutely.
And he tried to put the issue back off on me. But I think that was the anger in him building up. And he didn't know which direction he needed to go. So I was his target.
Absolutely. And just as in the military, ladies, there is no such thing as, opening up. This is strictly about being tough, being macho, getting out there and doing your job as a soldier, and that's it. But the issue that I have with the military is that you could be in Iraq one day and the next week you back home. You will do your paperwork to turn in your equipment, to turn in all your supplies, but there's no paperwork that tells you how to come back and be a better husband, a better father. They don't give you any training on that. You know what I'm saying? You're out in the field for a year. You're doing what you have to do, which is not normal. Some of the things that we see have some, and then you're supposed to come back and, come back home and bake cookies. That's not how it works.
That's not it. Right.
That's not how it works. And that's something that we've been trying to press the military on doing. I'm thankful for the benefits that I've gotten through the military and outside of the military with my family. But I've said this 100 times, I would give it all back to be able to sleep peacefully at night and to be able to sleep without taking any meds at night.
Yes.
And I said a story that if I'm on meds to a point now, I'm saying this that it open, so I hope that another brother can understand. If I don't take meds, I don't sleep. I could be out 2 or 3 days, and I don't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yes, it's not fun.
That's not normal, and it's just not healthy. But what choice do I have at this point? I'm getting, I'm stable. I'm never going to say I don't have PTSD, don't have major depression. There's no such thing. There's no cure. It's just, you being stable and be able to function.
Right.
That's good. I like that.
Marlos, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. We want you to know that we appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yes,
and we wish you our best. We know that you're going to be fine because you now have Waiting to Excel show on your side.
Yes.
You're our second guest. So listen, we got you. But thank you so much for coming on.
If you ever need me, ladies, or Natasha know how to get in contact with me, call me at any time.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a blessed night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. That was good.
That was good.
I like that.
That was
being stable and able to function.
Yes.
That was good to me.
And can you imagine the amount of people walking around that haven't properly been diagnosed and is not on medication?
It's scary. That is scary. That's really scary. And that's why I wanted him to definitely speak on how to get help, because so many people are probably suffering and don't even reach out.
Yeah, right.
What about that sleep? I need my sleep. Have mercy.
Right. And he's saying without medicine, he does not sleep.
He said 2 or 3 days. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's that manic kick in. I actually experienced that often. Actually, you be up for days and it's nothing. And then once you come down, it's a crash.
Then you sleep for 2 or 3 days. Wow.
Well, you try. You got kids and got to work,
Goodness.
But, yeah.
Tanisha?
I'm sorry. I'm so excited about our next guest, Miss Ashley Ingram. She's the owner of Peaceful Minds LLC. She obtained her bachelor's and master's degree at North Carolina Central University. Ashley is an associate licensed clinical social worker and an associate licensed clinical addiction specialist. In her experience, she has supported individuals with various diagnoses, including but not limited to such things as substance abuse, borderline personality disorder, PTSD, bipolar disorder, ADHD, anxiety, and depression, some of which we talked tonight. We present to some and introduce to others Miss Ashley Ingram.
Welcome and thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Yes.
We thank you so much, Ashley, for coming in.
Yes, I was excited to the invitation because mental health is definitely relevant, especially now during COVID. It's more relevant than ever. So at my agency that I do work at full time, we've been doing a lot of teletherapy, and people are taking advantage of it more than I thought they would.
That's good.
That's good.
That's good.
That's wonderful to hear.
Ashley, do you have any minor patients? Because I said earlier that if the adults is having a hard time dealing with this situation, I can only imagine children.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't work with children at the time. I don't know how they are handling it. I actually was talking to someone the other day, and I was just like, it's such a transition for us, but what about for them? They're
Right.
used to going to school, their
Right.
teachers miss them, they are used to that social interaction, and
Right.
now at home. So it would be nice if somebody did explore that, because I'm sure they are also experiencing it, maybe even worse than us, but just dealing
Right.
with it.
Right. Right. So and this, I know it's private, but what are the major concerns? Is it the pandemic itself, or the fact that we are stuck in the house and our lives now is just totally different from where it was a couple of months ago?
Mhm. Well, most of the concerns I hear are about the uncertainty.
Okay.
I actually am surprised because the population I do work with at the agency I work for, they are more vulnerable population, and they're handling it better than someone like myself or you guys. And I think it's just because they're used to their life being up in an uncertain place and not knowing what could happen next, opposed to somebody like us who we're used to, hey, every day we wake up and go to work, the simple things that are so simple to us and that come natural to us is not to them.
That's good.
That's good.
Mm.
So they're transitioning better. Now, my clients that work like us and have a steady job and have a steady routine, they're the ones who are more concerned. When is this going to be over? And it's interesting to see how it's affecting everyone, because you have the people who don't have children or who are not married and live alone, who are like dying for that social interaction. Then you got the people like myself who has a family and is like, I need to get out of here. So it takes a lot of balance between self-care and just being able to take a 30-minute walk and be by yourself and make sure you're engaging in self-care, because this is not our norm. So not how things are supposed to be. It's not how things have been for us. So we have to make sure that we are still attending to ourselves and not thinking it's selfish, but also just remembering, hey, let me go take a breather. Let me go take a walk. Let me go get some outside time to help fill your cup back up.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Build that cup back up.
Yeah,
I like that.
that was good.
Ashley, that's a good analogy, because during this time, we are just trying to make it. A lot of people, like you said, you have your different situations, and everybody is just trying to make it. Can you speak a little bit to, I don't know if you've had to deal with it just yet, but people who are in this situation who are now, were before, and are now dealing with abuse. And so now not only are you stuck in the house,
Mhm.
you're in the home being abused physically, emotionally, however.
Mhm.
So, from what I've heard, those victims have not, the death rate and the reports to Interact have actually increased because they are in the home. And so, that is what's happening with them. They aren't able to go anywhere, and it's really just increased the violence.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
So are there any ways that we can, not that we're going to come in contact with people who are in that situation, but can you speak to how, like, we can encourage someone? It's almost like people gravitate back to abused situations. Can you speak to that?
Yes, so most of the time when people do gravitate back to abusive situations, it's because it's their norm. So they
Mhm.
haven't been exposed to anything else. So to them, this is love. Their definition of love is not the same as someone else's. So
Mhm.
until they are exposed to that, it's easy for them to continue that pattern and get caught up in that same cycle. And then generally, whenever that the relationship begins, it doesn't begin that way. It's usually with someone who's maybe narcissistic and who's kind of nice at the beginning and then gradually changes into that. By
Mm.
that time, years have gone by and it's like either I can almost kill myself leaving, get killed leaving, or just stay in my comfort zone. So I know with the domestic violence cycle, um, when I worked for CPS for a while, it was not encouraged that we try to get them to leave, but
Mhm.
so just provide them with resources such as Interact and give them information so that if they do decide to leave, then okay, they can do it on their own.
Right.
Right.
Because generally they'll kind of get pushback if you were trying to force them or encourage them to leave. But they become more comfortable if they know you're there as a support.
Mhm.
So
Right.
just giving them resources, letting them know places that are a resource for them if they needed to leave and things like that, even helping them create a safety plan.
Yes.
Because a lot of times they don't have that.
Right.
But being more of a support is the best way that you can help a domestic violence victim, because they say it takes about 7 times until a woman leaves or a man leaves. So all we can do is be a support.
Nicole, did you have something that you were adding in? I know we were crossing one another for a second.
No.
Okay. All right, Ashley, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that's good because I know you said that you don't force them or just just like leave. Because that's normally that's what your homegirl they're like, girl, you better leave. But however, because if you telling me to leave and I don't have anywhere to go, like
That's right.
if you're not saying I can come stay with you, then you need to be quiet.
Right.
And like you said, just I need resources.
Yes.
Tell me if I do leave, where can I go? And if I
Yes.
have kids with me, where can I go with my kids that I can keep all my kids and
Right.
myself together and not, somebody got to go over here and somebody else got to go over there. Like
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
Ashley, do you feel the effects of domestic violence or domestic abuse causes mental illness? I may not be asking that right, but do the two work together?
They definitely have something to do with each other and can be interchangeable. Generally, after someone has experienced a domestic violence relationship or any type of abusive relationship, they are generally experiencing some depression. They may experience some isolation. Depending on what type of trauma they experience, they could be more anxious and eventually be diagnosed with anxiety, PTSD. So definitely, they definitely have one. Everything is interchangeable in that, which is why now when we're doing our intakes for mental health, we are now having a screening section for the domestic violence because initially that wasn't a part of it. And it's not like women are just coming in, or men just coming in and saying, hey, you know, I'm a victim or I'm a survivor. So the screening will help because they do have some type of mental health tied into there.
Okay,
That's
very
good.
that's good.
Our last guest was speaking about PTSD, and I would love for you to talk about how that's not just military related.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people get that kind of confused that PTSD is.
Yes. Military, yeah. So PTSD can be triggered by any traumatic event in the past that may have caused you to be scared, that may have brought up something in you. A lot of time, rape victims experience PTSD. People who may have been in a violent situation, such as being shot at, car wrecks. I've seen one of my clients, they were in a very bad car wreck recently, and it was a drunk driver who was driving, and she was unable to sleep through the night because she was having nightmares. So she did come in and get psychiatric meds to assist her with that. But PTSD can be the result of any traumatic experience that you have experienced in the past that is causing a consistent and ongoing effect or change in your mental health, your sleep pattern. A lot of times they're very jumpy. And sometimes people don't notice it because there's different levels of PTSD. There's acute, there's unspecified. So you don't necessarily have to go to war to experience PTSD. If you've experienced some childhood trauma, there's a great chance, depending on how you've handled it and if it's been addressed, that you could have it, just depending on if you're experiencing or displaying those symptoms.
Wow. So, Ashley, can you explain to the audience how does abuse affect a child's development?
So heavily, and I'm exhaling like that because a lot of people don't know. Well, I work for Wake County CPS, so a lot of people don't know that anytime a domestic violence report is called in to 911 and it's identified that a child was anywhere in that vicinity, whether they were upstairs asleep, whether they were outside, if it's identified that a child was there, it's screened into CPS automatically. So that is done because it is considered child endangerment. Granted, children could be a baby, but if two people are in a scuffle, you can't watch the baby.
Right.
So it's a form of neglect. And depending on how much of the violence is going on, it can become abuse. And it affects the child because children, babies, you know, if you guys ever clapped around a baby, you know, they jump. So you're causing your child to be startled. You know, they are just like humans. They are absorbing this as well. Children that are younger age, school age, it's more so about a learned behavior for them.
Right.
So a lot of times that'll become their norm. And then that's when you see those cycles, you know, okay, I grew up seeing this and no one ever told me it wasn't right. So now I'm going to display this behavior in my relationship because I saw them do it. So it definitely affects children. They become used to it. They'll talk about it casually and freely, matter of factly. They won't feel like when I would go to the schools to speak with them, it wasn't a secret. Like, it wasn't like, you know, it was just like, you know, hey, this is happening, you know, dad hit mom and she was crying and it was just, there was no facial expressions. It was just normal for them. So it can become a part of their daily lives. And then unless someone has intervened and, you know, taught them what is the right way to effectively disagree with someone, then that's when the patterns start. That's when those generational curses start. And
we use the term resilient, but I guess that's not a good way to think of it. It's being resilient. It's
right.
Yeah. And that is true. Children are resilient. It's just to a certain degree. So you see your parents get in a fight one time when you're young, you may not remember it. But if it's a consistent thing for those women or men who are in those domestic violence relationships, it's kind of hard to be resilient from that because it's a constant thing. It becomes a part of their life. It becomes their norm.
And that's good. And since we're talking about kids and abuse, how does that also play in with like sexual abuse for children? And the reason why I say that, how do you identify? I was just getting to that. And the reason why I asked that is because I'm a product. This whole topic is near and dear to my heart. So growing up, I was molested. And I know one sign for me was even as an adult and a grown woman, married grown woman, also with children, I would sleep with my hands. I would sleep in a fetal position, and I would sleep with my hands between my legs. So I know that that's kind of, for me, that's a sign. I can, because once you come out of the womb, and once you kind of realize you're free, you kind of, kids be all over the place. But once you go back into that protective, right? Yes. So can you give us some other signs to just let us, so that we can be aware and protect our kids?
So there are many signs. It sounds like to me that was like your protective mode. Like that was how you felt comfort, and that was how you felt protected. So with sexual abuse, depending on the child, it can be sometimes easy and sometimes it can be challenging to identify. I know bedwetting is a telltale sign. At school, doing inappropriate things to other children, that's a telltale sign. When they verbally tell you. Sometimes when they're overly developed, that can be a telltale sign. They do ask you to ask probing questions, which is why we get a lot of CPS reports. And what we used to when I worked there, but there was a different division for them because those cases had to involve law enforcement because the child would actually have to go to see a different type of person. It was called a child medical exam, and it's in a room full of people, and the child is in a room by themselves with maybe a psychiatrist, and they're asking them questions, kind of doing some play therapy and having them draw and stuff like that. So it just depends on the child, because I know children do sometimes, when they're young, they experiment with themselves, they touch themselves, they start developing things, and that's not always a sign. That could just be a part of their development.
Right.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
That's the truth.
But if you notice a change, that child is more withdrawn. Those are usually like, your child is changing in that manner. And I mean, not to the point where they're becoming a preteen and they don't want to hang out with you, but more so just withdrawn. Certain family member they don't necessarily want to be around. So depending on the adult and how in tune they are, they could find out as young as, 5. But it also depends on, I think in the past we have, kids and people have had that guilt and shame after they've been assaulted and not wanted to tell because they have that notion like, I'll let it happen, or shouldn't have did that, or I shouldn't have worn that dress, or I shouldn't have sat on this lap. And I think once we start normalizing like, hey, if this ever happens, it's okay if you can tell me. It won't be in trouble, because kids think they're going to get in trouble. Generally a kid is trying to hide something. So normalizing that is like the first step to letting, being open with your kid. If anything ever happens, tell me. I don't care what the person says. Let me know. Because a lot of times it's hidden because you don't know how it's going to affect you. A lot of times kids think they're going to get in trouble when they reveal that kind of stuff.
That's right. That's right. So Ashley, can you discuss how would a person handle a spouse that's being abused?
How would
has been abused? Yes, as
like how new spouse.
Yeah,
like
how would a person handle that their spouse being abused?
Being abused in the past. I would say therapy. And it depends on how open, because like I said, that is a very sensitive topic for people. I've had clients who've come in and disclosed that with me for the first time and tell me they've never told anyone that before. And then they won't call me back for treatment for 2 weeks. And I call them, and it's kind of like you tell your best friend something and then you like, oh, I didn't say too much, I'm gonna call her back. But you don't call back because you went too far. So that's how it is with them. Yeah, they'll try to like not come in, and I'll reach out like, hey, I haven't heard from you, and it's like, oh, okay, so you don't think I'm weird because I got assaulted, or my brother molested me, you still want to see me? Yeah, come on, let's process this. So just making them feel comfortable enough to even talk and letting them do it on their own time. But definitely therapy, because it starts with that person. It's not easy for people to, be transparent about that kind of stuff, especially when they haven't addressed the person who was there. The abuser has not acknowledged it.
Right.
So
when you say therapy, do you mean a couple therapy or the spouse?
I would suggest the spouse go alone first, because they have work to do on themselves. Now, if you meet a spouse and they have said, hey, like you are, just transparent with it, you've obviously dealt with it. So it's not a thing that's like, if I say this, they're going to look at me funny. But if you go to therapy alone, the victim goes to therapy alone first and handles it alone, then allow that person to come in and join in, because by then you will have worked up the courage to, acknowledge that, first of all, it's not your fault, but then try to relate how you felt and what happened to you to your partner without them, feeling awkward too, because it's a sensitive topic for everyone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What are some ways that after you, and this, we never want this to happen, but after you know that a child has been abused, therapy, of course, but what are some ways that parents can approach it in the home outside of therapy?
I think trying to just keep it normal, but also just loving them, because like you said, children are resilient. They are, and that's when they are resilient. But the therapy, and then just having that open conversation with them and acknowledging that, hey, whatever role that you may have, it was not that I didn't want to know, or it's not, I would never want this to hurt you, but kind of validating that you're there for them if they need them, because kids need that. Kids need that cushion. They just want to feel that comfort and feel comfortable to be able to be themselves.
That's good.
Can I ask you a question? How important do you feel is it to inform our children, or inform our adults rather, to not put a gender on somebody that can abuse? Like, you have men who touch children. You have women. Because just going back to myself, growing up, I was touched inappropriately by men and women. So how do we, just make people aware that it's just not a certain, we always want to look out for Uncle so-and-so and so, but what about Susie sitting in the corner? You know what I mean? So, like how do we
I think informing them, because I do know that most of the time when abuse goes on, it's always somebody It's very rare that it's a stranger. But just when you do have those conversations with your child, letting them know it can be a girl or a boy, because a lot of the times, like you said, we're like, men are doing this, but many men have been molested, abused, and all of that by the babysitter, the auntie, and then that leads to their promiscuous behaviors early on in age, and we just kind of overlook it because, hey, they're men, they into that early anyway. But just making sure you're informing them, just like we talk about anything else. I try to make it like the weather. Anybody ever touched you down there? What's going on? And not such a serious conversation, but kids, they'll receive it. But just letting them know everything that you can, as far as, hey, gender doesn't matter, age doesn't matter, and making them feel comfortable so they will come to you. It's all about making kids feel comfortable, because if they don't feel comfortable, they won't come.
Right. That's true.
We have a statement on our live that's saying offenders don't have a look or a type. It could be the one that you least expected.
And that's true.
That is, I think that's what Victoria just said.
And it's taken aback by it, like, oh, okay, because I'm human. I can judge too. Somebody come in my office, we're gonna do an intake, and I'm like, they just throw that in there, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, tell me about that. So they don't have it. They don't have a specific.
That's right.
That's good.
We want to open the floor that if any of our viewers have questions, certainly post them in our comments. We still invite you to like and share our live. We are so glad that you have come and talked to us tonight, Ashley. We appreciate it because these subjects that we're talking about, they just go, it could go on and on and on. We could talk about this for weeks. But we definitely invite our viewers to ask any questions that we have. We are posting your information at the bottom of the screen as well. And Ashley, just while we're waiting to see if anyone has any questions, go ahead and leave us with something related to mental health, being that this is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes. So I will say, since it's Mental Health Month, that everyone that is experiencing mental health issues do not have a mental illness. So it is very normal. I try to let my clients know, I've experienced some depression. I get a little anxious, and it's just about normalizing it so it won't be a stigma and people won't be afraid to seek treatment, because it's the stigma that keeps people from seeking treatment, or if I go to therapy, I'm crazy, or if I go to therapy, this, and it's like, no, we all need some therapy because we all have things we can work on.
Right.
So just continue to pour into your cup and keep it full, because you can't pour into anyone else's cup if yours isn't.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
That's
That's good.
That's good. Well, Ashley, we certainly
Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
And
you
we
so
look forward
much.
to
Thank you.
working with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Take
good.
care.
Thank you.
That was good
That was
information.
good. That was
Wow,
good.
ladies.
I love that cup. Keep your cup
Yeah.
full. I
Because
like
you can't pour empty, and all of us have tried to pour empty, and
Yeah,
it does not work. We are pouring air
That's
out
right.
of those cups that other people need.
That's right.
That's good. That's real good.
Latoya, you have some good stuff for us?
Yes. I have our Hello Beautiful for the evening.
Yay!
And speaking of that and that pouring cup, it's good to just be nice and uplift one another.
Amen.
And especially as women,
Right.
we don't do it enough. I have a company. It's called Adoll, ADOLL LLC, and it stands for A Diamond Overcoming Life Lessons. And one of the life lessons for me has been self-esteem. I've struggled. I still struggle. So I just like to tell women beautiful, because I like to hear it. So our Hello Beautiful for the evening is Melissa Elliott.
Congratulations, Melissa. Beautiful.
Melissa. And
You are
Melissa
beautiful.
Elliott is the founder of Gang Free Inc., a nonprofit organization that educates and empowers youth, houses the homeless, and combat food insecurities. Melissa has served in the field of criminal justice in various capacities, as well as serving at risk youth. Y'all. She formerly worked as the gang resource officer for the Vance County Sheriff Office, where she was declared the gang lady. She is also an instructor at Hidden Manor Bible College, and she is serving her second term as an elected official. She represents Ward 3 in the city of Henderson, North Carolina.
Woo! Congratulations, Melissa.
Melissa,
So
we
beautiful.
are sending you this Hello Beautiful t-shirt.
Beautiful.
We thank
beautiful.
you. Yay. And we're asking you all to nominate your Hello Beautiful. Please send in your nominations to hello.beautiful247@yahoo.com. And you can nominate yourself. I mean, like, just tell us why you're beautiful. Just send us 5 to 7 just pointers about yourself, and just tell us why you're beautiful.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Melissa.
That's awesome. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, beautiful. Yes.
So that's our show for tonight, ladies. And we've already been here for an hour, and we could talk for the rest of the night. But
Yeah.
Nicole, go ahead and take us out, and we're going to tell our viewers thank you.
Yes.
It's not too late to like and share, and we appreciate you coming on tonight. It's been an amazing conversation.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we would just like to thank you again for tuning in for another great conversation on mental illness. I hope you guys got the information you needed. I hope you found the information important. And if you are experiencing any type of mental illness, please reach out. There are many resources online. Talk to a family member or friend, and just seek the help that is offered. There's a lot of free help out there. We would also like to thank our Bishop Carby Jones and Lady Tracy Jones for supporting this platform. If you would like to support our ministry, please Cash App $TLCWC. Again, that's $TLCWC. And ladies, I guess we all just need to remember to inhale and exhale. And until next week, please like and share. And we'll see you next Friday for another great topic.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.